Dear students of 8A and 8B, welcome to my History and Civics class. Lesson number 13, topic Rise of Nationalism. Rise of Nationalism. Here there are some points. As per the following points mentioned in the board, I am going to teach it. Number 1, introduction. Rise of nationalism. Introduction. Next, feeling of nationalism. Third point, national aspiration. Fourth point, factors led to the growth of Indian nationalism. 5, a sense of oneness formed. A sense of oneness formed. Now, introduction. You know, the revolt of 1857, which I completed, this lesson has given you some ideas about the concept of nationalism. What is nationalism? How did the people of India get themselves involved in the revolt of 1857? What was their interest? Why did they get themselves involved in the revolt of 1857? And why did the Sepoys of India refuse to use the Enfield rifle, and why was it considered as the immediate cause? Refusal of Enfield rifle is considered as the immediate cause of the revolt of 1857. Why? These points, each and every point, I thoroughly discussed in my previous class. Now, the introduction. In my introduction, I'd like to say that the revolt of 1857, which was started in the year 1857, left a vivid impression among the Indian people. Basically, the revolt was started by the Sepoys of India, but few sections of the society of India, they extended their cooperation, but not all. And that's why the Sepoys got inspiration from them. Rulers like Rani Lakshmibai of Jhansi, Nana Sahib of Kanpur, Begum Hazrat Mahal of Ayodhya, they all fought bravely against the British rule and encouraged the Sepoys of India. That's why these, contributions of the Sepoys, contributions of the Indian rulers, like Nana Sahib, Rani Lakshmibai, then Begum Hazrat Mahal, and they all who sacrificed for the noble cause of country's independence, fought against the British, defeated them, and ultimately was considered defeat. Ultimately they considered defeat. These contributions of Indian people and their Sepoys and its Sepoys, left an idea, left a concept of nationalism. Means they realized that it belonged to their country, they have their own national identity, that country belonged to them, and so it is their first duty to protect their motherland from the foreign rulers. That's why they were determined to overthrow the British rule. And next point, feeling of nationalism. Feeling of nationalism. The British, although suppressed the revolt of 1857, but the people of India, by strengthening the revolt of 1857, by giving moral support, the Sepoy mutiny or the revolt of 1857 had become a first war of independence. First war of independence, not mutiny, but war of independence. And this is for the first time, the Indian people realized that they could raise their voice against the British. They could get themselves united against the injustice done to them. And by this way, the revolt of 1857, the war of independence of the Indians, started in the year 1857. And the contributions of the Sipais and Indian rulers gave a birth of Indian nationalism. People realized that the country from where they started agitation, revolution against the British, that very country belonged to them. It is their motherland, so it is their duty to protect their motherlands from the foreign rulers. This concept of nationalism helped them to be united against the British. Now, national aspiration. The people who started fighting against the British, the Sipais, the rulers of India who started fighting against the British, they fought bravely against the British. Why? Because they knew that the British belonged to England, but they belonged to India. So they fought with courage and determination. And ultimately, they considered defeat, but they defeated British soldiers also. So it gave them an aspiration, a national identity. National aspiration encouraged them a lot for future movement. The movement, the Sipai Mutiny, which was suppressed by the British in the year 1857, left a great impression on Indian subcontinent, and the people of India started believing that once again they would fight against the injustice of the British. Once again they would raise their sword, they would raise their voice against the British, that India belonged to them, to their country. The British leave the country, and they would be able to overthrow the British rule. The next one, factors led to the growth of Indian nationalism. There are certain factors led to the growth of Indian nationalism. Number one, unity among the Sipais. The Sipais initially got nervous. They could not understand what to do when the British forced them to use Enfield rifle, and they came to know that the paper of the cartridges were made of fat of cows and pigs. That's why they refused to use the Enfield rifle, because its paper was to be beaten up with teeth. That's why it harmed their religious sentiments. And as a result of it, they realized that they must protest against that system, by a system introduced by the British. So it is their first and foremost duty to be united against the injustice done to them. That's why the Sipais of different parts of India, they all unanimously raised their voice against the injustice, raised their voice against, the introduction of Enfield rifle, and ultimately they all boycotted it. They not, and rest of the soldiers, they kept on fighting, and ultimately under such circumstances where, the major portion of Indian states, they all realized that their unity should have been made more effectively, more strongly. Since they had no unity, there was no unity among the Indians. Since there was no unity from different parts of India, and a little number of Indian states, and talukdars, zamindars, they cooperated with the Indian, Sipais, and helped them to fight against the British. But ultimately, the number of zamindars, the number of talukdars, the number of rich people were very less. And so the Sepoy Mutiny, the revolt of 1857 was, suppressed, but it gave a birth of Indian nationalism. People believe that if they wish, they are sure to defeat the British. Since once they defeated the British soldiers, they were determined to defeat the British confidently. Afterwards, when they met them again. And that's why another point, a sense of oneness formed, a sense of oneness, since there was no unity among Indian rulers. There was no but only identities. There was no unity, but identity was there. They belonged to one country, that is India. They did not belong to a state, but belong to a country. Suppose I belong to West Bengal, and another one belong to Gujarat, other one belong to Maharashtra, another one belong to Tamil Nadu. So a concept of oneness formed among the Indians. A concept of oneness formed among the Indians. Now why is it? Because of the political concept of Swami Dayanand Saraswati encouraged a group of people, and some educationists of India, they also encouraged them that it belonged to one nation. It belonged to one nation. There are so many communities, so many races, so many languages, but only one country is there, India. We are Indians. We have many languages, many customs, many traditions, many castes, many traditions, many cultural and religious beliefs and faith, but we all are Indians. This act of oneness gave a birth of liberty, gave a birth of freedom, gave a birth of national identity and nationalism. The concept of nationalism was formed with the concept of oneness. The sense of oneness helped them to strengthen a country like our country, like India. They boldly, they proudly proclaimed that they all are Indians and India is their motherland, and by they protect it by hook or by crook. They protect it they sacrifice their lives for the sake of motherland. Up to this, my dear students, thank you.